Now let's move on to some more news and updates talking about France elections, where France is preparing for a potentially volatile polls day on 7th of July, with 30,000 police officers set to be deployed nationwide to maintain law and order. This comes after reports of attacks on two political candidates during the campaign. The election will decide if Marine Le Pen's party, the National Party, will get a majority and lead the next government in France, a key European economy. Meanwhile, French President Emmanuel Macron has withdrawn from public view and is not seen in public for almost 2 weeks amid reports that he's been advised to stay quiet ahead of Sunday's second round of voting. More than 210 candidates stood down on Tuesday in a bid to try and block the far right, post which the polls suggest that Marine Le Pen's National Party will not win a majority of seats. And before the withdrawals, pollsters had calculated the first round putting the run on track for 250 to 300 seats. Thousands of demonstrations in Paris opposing Marine Le Pen's far-right National Party, citing concerns about its national preference and anti-migrant policies. The second round of voting will take place on July 7th. My colleague from DD India, Ross Collin, joins us live from London. To begin with, Ross, hi. More than 200 candidates reportedly are now in a bid trying to block the far right's so-called win, which was predicted earlier, from winning a majority of seats. Though it seems that the situation has changed a bit as a run-up to the final day.
Well, I'm here in Paris, the French capital, ahead of the decisive second round of votes, which will be on Sunday. And we know that there have been these withdrawals by more than 200 candidates from different parties, deliberately stepping aside so that the support against the far right can coalesce around just one candidate. That is the strategy that the centre, the governments and also the left-wing coalition have come up with, a loose agreement to work together for one day only on Sunday to try to block as many far-right candidates from winning those seats as possible. For their part, the National Rally, led by Jordan Bardella, the 28-year-old prospective Prime Minister, have said that they believe there is no other option but an outright absolute majority for them. They are still determined to win the election outright on Sunday, and they do believe, and the polls point to their party at least being the biggest voting bloc in Parliament.
But this whole news of French President Macron withdrawing from the public view on the advice of his advisors, is it part of a drawn strategy?
Well, there's certainly a strategy that has been in terms of an advice for President Macron to potentially just dial down and reduce the number of public appearances, because there is certainly a very strong feeling by many people in many of the different parties, millions of people across the country, who do not like the president. Despite the fact he won the presidential election just 2 years ago, there is a big swelling of support against the president. And so the government do feel if he could potentially reduce the number of appearances that he makes, that could be helpful to their campaign. I'll also just point out one thing that's come out in the last couple of minutes.
Sure.
A message from the French football captain, Kylian Mbappe. He has said that it's truly urgent right now, more than ever before. You have to vote. We cannot leave the country in the hands of these people. We have seen the results and it's catastrophic.
Okay, well, that's interesting. Having said that, it seems to be one of the most volatile elections that France must have ever seen. This massive deployment on the roads. Could you just bring us to speed with that aspect as well?
Well, there's certainly the worry that there could be tensions, concerns over possible unrest on the Monday following the election, on this coming Monday, the 8th of July, potentially. They are going to be deploying lots of police officers to try to quell any unrest, which would very likely be the left and the centre demonstrating against this possible far-right victory, which could occur. At the very least, they're likely to get the biggest number of seats, but they may fall short of a majority. Marine Le Pen has said that her party leader, Jordan Bardella, would not take up the post of Prime Minister if her party does not get a majority. And there's also these discussions that have been taking place, these calculations between the left and the centre about a possible so-called grand coalition. Now, we do see this regularly in countries like Germany, very rarely, though, in France, where different parties come together to try to especially keep one party they all agree on their dislike of, to keep that party out of power, the far right. But there's no doubt that the National Rally are now the premier political force in France.
It's going to be a lot of tension as a run-up to Sunday, and we'll have to see how really Sunday pans out and what would be the fresh headlines in France. Thank you very much from joining us from Paris, Ross. Thank you.